what I'm about to present to you is just one, let's say, one photo of my PhD dissertation. Um, and I'm talking about the concept of spatial practices in co-working spaces, and I'm gonna try to explain what are spatial practices and which spatial practices do we find in co-working spaces. And this is something that I have done through a case study conducted here in Florianópolis, my hometown. So hopefully it will be interesting also having, let's say, a global South perspective on the debate about co-working, because most of the time we always talking and researching and having as means of comparison co-working spaces or urban contexts regarding co-working spaces in global cities and or large cities or North American and European cities. So I think it's very important that we can promote a global South perspective in this discussion. So to begin with, I'm gonna do like this is more like of a rhetorical question, kind of, which is it co-working a third place really? Because as you may or may not know, third place is a concept coined originally by Ray Oldenburg. And when Oldenburg coined this concept, he was looking for try to concept to sorry to try to explain about a space that goes beyond the spheres of working and living, right? So if our home is our first place and our place of work is our second place, then we need a third place to socialize, to meet people, to get together with our friends and etc. But also, like in recent years, third places have also been associated with the new working spaces. And here we're talking about more precisely about co-working spaces because of this kind of a particular spirit. And I think that Ghislaine's presentation touched on this point in a very happy way, um, because then now co-working spaces, they look like, okay, it's a place of work that actually kind of resembles a bar or a coffee shop, and there are studies that actually says that proves that co-working spaces, they are kind of designed to look and feel like a third space. And also the other way around, also there are a lot of studies showing that creative professionals uh, they started to go to coffee shops or libraries, or I don't know, even breweries to work. So this kind of, it's kind of hard to feel like to find the threshold between the first, the second, and the third place, right? So I mean this, but still, like if we can talk about third places for work, what do we make of these third places for work perspective to understand the social practices, the social impacts of co-working spaces, and how this blurred threshold between living, working, and having fun also impacts the way we work and the way we create relations with the environment and with the other persons, the other people who is around us. So this is more like the question that I try to answer. I'm not sure if I did answer all of them, but let's say. And then Oldenburg himself, when explaining what is a third place, he says that it is an active dictatorial force that adds experience or subtracts them according to the way it has been shaped, right? So third place doesn't happen by chance. This is what he means. And when he says that, he also touches in a point that is very particular to our debate, which is the concept of spatial practices. And by spatial practice here, I am understanding, and by the way, this is a concept that has been developed within Brazilian urban geography theory. And long story short, spatial practice can be understood as any social, political, or organizational practice that are endowed with at least one element of spatiality through which an objective resolution is sought. So if there is a social practice, and then maybe this example, it's a short example that will help us to understand a little bit better this concept. So here in the left, we have McDonald's, right? So McDonald's is spread all over the world, as you know, and but they choose to locate their restaurants regarding a certain attributes. So I don't know. Probably they want to be located where there are a huge flow of people. They want to be located maybe at a shopping mall, or maybe I don't know, in an avenue where people can go go into the drive-through and get the snack and go out. So there is a spatial practice that has an element. It is a spatial practice with let's say a commercial element, right, an organizational element. Right on the right side, you see above a guy kicking like I don't know something. He's in a riot. So spatial practices can also be social. So let's say if we choose to okay, let's make a protest now and let's close the streets, let's set fire and everything, and we're going to try to do a revolution. We are also appropriating the space, appropriating the territory to promote a practice, right? Like a revolutionary practice or just a protest practice. So this is also spatial practice, but like in a social way. And also, when we do this, probably the police will come after us and will kick us out the street. So that means that institutions and also and here I mean like the state, like the politics, the government, they also perform a spatial practice. In this case, they like in this example, they would be like trying to maintain the order and maintain everything in place, right? So this is just a general overview, very broadly overview of a spatial practice, because then the question is, okay, that's very nice, but how can we connect spatial practice to co-working spaces? Well, first of all, as Lenny mentioned, and I think that Lucas' presentation also touched on this, we could say that the spatial practices in co-working spaces, they are organizational, regardless of the first phase, the second phase, the neo-cooperative phase or the resilient phase that Gandhin and Consul talks about. Co-working spaces, when they are doing practice, when they're appropriating spaces to promote practice, they are also we are always talking about organizational practice, and this may vary according to the purpose and the objectives of the space. Okay, so to explore which spatial practices can be related to the co-working phenomena, I mapped the 37 existing co-working space in Florianópolis, my hometown, which is this very ugly island that you can see in the photo right here. And after having mapped these co-working spaces, I conducted 8 semi-structured interviews with people in management positions or even the owners of these co-working spaces, right? And these interviews, they aim at exploring how co-working spaces interacts with local dynamics on the other hand, and also on the other hand, analyze how managers perceive such interaction. So I'm gonna just cut to the main findings, which are 3 of them. And the first one is spatial selectivity. So just like McDonald's, but of course, it's a totally different business, co-working spaces tended to be geographically located according to strategic attributes, such as urban infrastructure, flows, density, centrality, etc. Right? So here it's like something, despite that after the pandemic, we have been also talking a lot about co-working spaces in peripheral areas. Even in peripheral areas, you just don't go and create open one co-working space in nowhere, right? So even in peripheral areas or in downtown or in urban core areas or in traditional neighborhoods, there are certain strategic attributes that you need to take into account to choose, okay, this is the spot where I'm going to work. Either because, I don't know, it's close to university, so I'm going to attract a student to go there, or I don't know, it's in the core of downtown, so I know a lot of people will be there, or I don't know, it's in a peripheral area, but it's close, I don't know, to a subway station that people can go easily. I don't know, there could be, this could go many several ways, but the first important point is that selectivity, like where do I need to be located in order to maintain my business keep going, is one spatial practice, right? But this it like it just doesn't it's not enough. The spatial selectivity is not enough for us to understand the spatial practice of co-working, because of course there will be competitions, and as Gislene mentioned, the second wave of co-working, according to Gandini Kosu, which is the neo-cooperative model, this commercial model, promotes competition, and there are a lot of competition between co-working spaces, even in a concentrated area sometimes, which leads us to another spatial practice that I mapped in these interviews, which is the compact habitability. This is or livability. I guess that livability would be probably a better word than habitability, but like compact livability would be a set of practices and narratives that endorses and places co-working at the center of a particular lifestyle. And by lifestyle, I'm talking about the creative lifestyle, because most of co-workers, they work in or they have occupations that are within the so-called the creative class occupations. So, and this creative class, broadly speaking, they share some common grounds in terms of lifestyle and what they want and how they want to live the space and the city. And this lifestyle, it works very hard in finding a striking working life balance that is sustained by this idea of living closer to the workplace. This is why compact livability. So you could ask me, okay, Manuel, isn't it the same thing as, let's say, the 15-minute city? Well, it might be the same thing, or it might be very close, but here we're not talking about an urban planning process that is indeed actually trying to promote a 15-minute city, or trying to build relations that goes, I don't know, somewhere near to 15-minute city. What happens here is that co-working managers or even co-working space owners, they rely on this spatial selectivity, spatial practice, and also on narratives that promote this spatial selectivity as a way to convince you that if you choose to go to their co-working space, it could be nice because there are this, I don't know, there's this nice pizza restaurant nearby, or you could just like get in a bike and ride a bike for 5 minutes, and then you are at the place, or I don't know, there are many attractions. And this is something that I noticed in my research, that it happens far more in the narrative way than, let's say, literally speaking. So it's more kind of I don't know, kind of a marketing narrative, but that also we can also comprehend it as a spatial practice, because it promotes, it appropriates the co-working as a space to promote, I don't know, some kind of advertising about how their space is better than the other, or how this particular area of the city is better for you to go to co-working, and etc. Right? And the third, like last but not least, the adaptive use of co-working spaces. This is a very, I would say, a very new spatial practice, and something that we needed to stress a little bit more to understand in more depth. But let's say here in this photo, you see this is in Germany, and it's a node church that was deactivated, and I don't know, it was rented, or I don't know, someone bought the property. I don't know what happened here, but this church was converted, was adapted to be a co-working space. And this can happen not only in churches, but this can happen in old factories, and now old department stores, old buildings that were built to serve to other purposes. And when this building no longer served to the purpose that it was built to, it can be transformed into a number of things, like from breweries, restaurants, cultural spaces, museums, I don't know, but also co-working space, right? So and this is this is particularly good because, as you know, co-working space, one of the main important things of a co-working space is to have flexibility, is to like have a it's like to be conducive for people to go there and find a way to work. So if I have a team of 5 people and I want to go to this space, I'm gonna go to this manager and say, yeah, I like this shirt, I want to work here with my team, but I need this kind of a space. Can you adapt? Can you adjust like the layout? And probably the manager say, yes, we can do this. There's a lot of space here. So if you want like a singular desk, or if you want like a 10 people desk, or a separate space, separate room, we can get to whatever you want. So this is why co-working spaces, they are changing, they are appropriating old spaces or old buildings, and adapting these spaces to co-working purposes. And this is, as far as I understood, as far as I see, this is often located in areas of regeneration, or even areas that you can see gentrification process. So this goes hand in hand, right? So, and then I'm really close to I'm really near to closing here. But then you remember that I opened this presentation asking, but is it co-working a third place? Now I'm rephrasing the question after analyzing the spatial practice that I mapped to, is it a co-working space a third place or a placelessness? And then, like, by placelessness, I mean that this a place that has kind of an inauthentic sense. So if this place is lived in an inauthentic way, it's like you see, because as you see, they are based on commercial and marketing discourses. This spatial practice, they're based on and this second wave of co-working, and they are but when you look at the layouts, and more than that, when you look at the narratives that promote this co-working as a spatial practice, you can see that these practices and these narratives, they are relatively homogeneous among the representatives. And then, like, what happens is that we have a massive and critical experience, or a massive and critical way to promote the co-working experiences, right? So, and this Edward Ralph, which is an urban geographer from the 70s, that coined the place and placelessness concept. He says that placelessness, like the place that doesn't have a particular identity, the place that doesn't have a particular appealing, that is just like any other place. He says that placelessness is like, it's a merely attitude which is socially convenient and adaptable, and uncritically accepted stereotype and intellectual or aesthetic fashion that can be adopted without real involvement. So this would be like a more or less, not a conclusion, but let's say a general insight that I took from this research here, is that I guess that we needed to ask that beyond being a third place for work, to what extent are we thinking and promoting and working and debating co-working spaces, but as like, let's say, a place without identity, a place that doesn't really offers a true authentic experience of working, of getting people connected, or whatever the reason that we go to a co-working space. Like, how can we make this to be less superficial? I guess this is like the question that I would like to give, that I'd like to debate afterwards. And here are some references if you want to take a look at it. And yeah, thanks for your time. And I'm sorry if I guess I used a little bit more than 10 minutes, but I'm here for the debate. Thanks a lot.